While all party delegations continue to present a united front for India on Operation Sindoor, at home, there is ugly politics that is now overtaking the public discourse. This even as mock drills are planned for four border states on Thursday, including Punjab, Jammu and Kashmir, Rajasthan, and Gujarat. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo story. On the program today, we look at the political fallout, the political developments around Operation Sindoor. As the army chief witnessed today the firepower of the military when it comes to drone warfare, remember drones have been at the heart of Operation Sindoor. Cross-party delegations across the world are presenting a united front for India, taking the message of Pakistan patronizing terrorism far and wide. Prominent among these, perhaps the most prominent, has been Congress Member of Parliament Shashi Tharoor. But Shashi Tharoor is slowly coming under attack from some of his own party colleagues. A congressman today described him to be the super spokesman for the BJP. This even as the Prime Minister has in the past few days made multiple speeches on Operation Sindoor, one in which he has also referenced Sardar Patel and how Sardar Patel's advice was not heeded when it comes to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The Congress too is targeting the Prime Minister. Congress spokesperson Pawan Khera said that the Prime Minister was busy delivering filmy dialogues. The Prime Minister so far has not named the opposition party in his speeches, but he did sarcastically talk about those at home who may ask for proof that he said had been documented on camera this time of how Pakistan air bases alongside terror bases were destroyed by India's armed forces. There has been some crazy loose talk as well. Sanjay Raut of the Shiv Sena in a shocking statement called Operation Sindoor a failed operation. But as Shashi Tharoor occupies the most prominent headlines outside, is it Congress versus Congress at home? Is it now squarely Congress versus BJP at home? Is this political squabbling hurting India's interests as it overtakes the national conversation? I want to introduce our guests on the program today. If I can please bring up my guests, I want to introduce my guests. Ashwini Shahi of the BJP is with us. Ashwini ji, namaskar. बहुत दिन बाद आपसे मुलाकात हो रही है. Dr. Ajoy Kumar is here, senior leader of the Congress. Ajoy, good to see you. Also, after ages, Dilip Cherian is back with us, image guru, political consultant. Always good to have you with us, Dilip. And Sugata Srinivas Raju, senior journalist, author, just out with a new book, in fact, is with us as well. Welcome, everybody. Let me start by playing out for you Dr. Shashi Tharoor's latest comments in which he chronicles India's responses from the time of the surgical strikes after the terror attack in Uri to Operation Sindoor. The reason this is important is because Shashi Tharoor's position on the surgical strikes contradicts the position his own party had taken at the time when the BJP went public with these strikes. Let me play out this statement for you. Take a look.
But what has changed in recent years is that the terrorists have also realized they will have a price to pay. On that, let there be no doubt. When, for the first time, India breached the line of control between India and Pakistan to conduct a surgical strike on a terror base, a launch pad, the Uri strike in September 2015, that was already something we had not done before. Even during the Kargil war, we had not crossed the line of control. In Uri we did. Then came the attack in Pulwama in January 2019. This time we crossed not only the line of control, we crossed the international border and we struck a terrorist headquarters in Balakot. This time we have gone beyond both of those. We have not only gone beyond the line of control and the international border, we have struck at the Punjabi heartland of Pakistan by hitting terror bases, training centers, terror headquarters in 9 places in both.
Right. Now, before we open this up for conversation, I will play out also a statement from Udit Raj of the Congress. Although he's not a designated spokesperson, is his comment capturing some sort of rumblings that have taken place or are beginning to take place within the Congress when it comes to Dr. Tharoor? Take a look.
नहीं, शशि थरूर जी बीजेपी के सुपर प्रवक्ता हैं जो बीजेपी के लोग नहीं कह पा रहे हैं। मोदी जी की चमचागिरी या मोदी जी का गुणगान जितना वो नहीं कर पा रहे हैं और बीजेपी के लोग उससे ज्यादा शशि थरूर कर रहे हैं। शशि थरूर को पता है कि पहले की सरकारों ने क्या किया। पहले की सरकारें ढोल नहीं पीटती थी, तो ये शब्द वापस लेना चाहिए कि पहले ऐसा नहीं हुआ है। पहले सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक होती थी, पता नहीं होता था। ये मोदी जी जैसा नहीं कि करेंगे नहीं और प्रचार करेंगे और सेखी बघारेंगे और उसका लाभ लेंगे। सेना की कार्यवाही का लाभ लेने के लिए कांग्रेस पार्टी उसको पब्लिक डिक्लेयर नहीं करती थी, लेकिन ये पब्लिक सेना का सारा श्रेय खुद ले रहे हैं। सेना का कोई सम्मान नहीं हर, तो उसमें शशि थरूर ये जो पब्लिसिटी स्टंट है भारतीय जनता पार्टी का, उसके इस समय प्रवक्ता बन गए।
So let me actually start with Dr. Ajoy Kumar and then come to Ashwini Shahi. And the reason I start with you, Ajoy, and we'll come to what the Congress has been asking of the Modi government as well in a moment. But let's start with how the party views what's happening with Dr. Shashi Tharoor. He has become the most prominent face of this advocacy abroad. He was not in the original Congress list. You now have individual Congress members calling him a super spokesperson for the BJP. At the same time, you have a certain degree of loose talk made by Shiv Sena UBT's leader Sanjay Raut, who actually calls Operation Sindoor a failure. Now, Ajoy, I don't know how many people in our audience today know that you were also once a man in uniform. You were a police officer who became a politician. And therefore, I imagine that you will have much more sensitivity and much more awareness of some of these things. How do you see the role of Dr. Tharoor? And do you feel the party has failed to own him? He's making some spectacular speeches. The Congress should be proud of him. The Congress should be owning those speeches. What do you say?
No. First question is, Shashi has gone as a part of the government delegation. And Barkha, you would know, and I think everybody in this panel will say that when you go overseas, the script is standard, and I don't think any person of any political background would speak out of the script. So I think that's perfectly okay. What Shashi is saying accordingly, whether he's saying it or anybody else is saying it. But I just need to flag one thing, and Shai ji is there on the show also. One of their colleague, Nishikant Dubey, continues to write strange things on Twitter, even when he's on this attacking Pandit Nehru and all that. Now, my question is, if everybody is speaking in one voice, Mr. Dubey seems to be speaking in the third voice. But I just wanted to flag to Shaiji that it is not in good taste, because I see all his comments on Twitter coming in, and it's unfortunate because the delegation is abroad. And then we are responding to it, and I'm quite sure people are doing. Now, I don't think anybody in the Congress party has had Mr. Udit Raj has spoken something in Shashi, and I don't think that should have been a statement which should have been made. My view, and definitely I say it with responsibility, for the simple reason being, anyone, whether it's Supriya Sule, whether it is Kanimuri or anybody else, they are not being covered as much as Shashi, but if they were being covered, the script which these people speak across are standard. It is something every leader of the delegation has been briefed, and then accordingly they can communicate it to the people. I mean, they might use their own words and all that, but the basic parameters of what the government decides is always said. And I've been a civil servant, so it's very easy to understand that it's not something which Shashi is also doing it on his own because of his love for the government or something else. What he's saying is he's putting India's standard clearly, exposing Pakistan as a terrorist state, and I think that is the right way to do it. abroad. There is no debate on that, Barkha. I mean, if somebody is saying that, and I
But
think
but
across.
but do you think, and I'll then go to Ashwini Shahi. So briefly, do you think this unity abroad, which you say is a prepared script, every party member, irrespective of which party they are on board with it? Do you think this squares with the kind of ugly political battles that are now out in the open here at home, Dr. Ajoy Kumar?
No, it doesn't. For the simple reason being, look, I have few issues with this. Prime Minister putting in, it's like a fancy dress competition, wearing the uniform of a pilot and all that, putting posters and all that. You see, the issue is this whole fight with the Pakistanis have not finished. It's a long fight. And correctly so. It's the government has been saying that the Operation Sindoor is in continuation. But to reduce it to what you saw it on, whether it's in Ahmedabad calling Colonel Qureshi's family to throw flowers, whether it is doing these road shows and all. If you're doing that, then it is going to get political. Then it is going to get ugly, because then it is not a national program. It's a BJP's program, which we take great umbrage to, and we would, like Shaiji is correct, would obviously oppose if we did the same thing, and we would oppose if they do the same thing. My question is very simple. I would have expected my Prime Minister to go to Poonch. I would have expected my Prime Minister to speak to the people's family of the 26 who has died. That's my expectation from my Prime Minister. I would have not expected my Prime Minister to do political rallies. I mean, not at this call, because it's very. Barkha, I'll finish with 30 seconds. It is very important that this event should be depoliticized and shown as a country as one. The moment you make it political, then we need to get political. You can't say that you'll do politics about it and we don't do politics about it. It's natural, no? So either way, so my question to Shaiji and all responsible people is, we need to, step back, all of us, and stop making Sindoor into a political issue. It's an issue, national issue, and we need to take it responsibly. That's my view. Sorry.
So per se, Dr. Ajoy, I agree. Per se, of course, it should be depoliticized, but the BJP may turn around and say that Rahul Gandhi fired the first salvo when he accused FM Jaishankar of leaking war plans. I'm glad to note that the Congress isn't bringing that up anymore, because it was a pretty bizarre theory. But you also raise a valid question about Nishikant Dube's comments while he's part of this delegation. तो मैं शाही जी से पूछना चाहती हूँ कि ये ठीक होगा कि जब हम कांग्रेस को क्रिटिसाइज करते हैं कि भाई आप लोग क्यों जयशंकर के बारे में ये बिजार थियरीज कर रहे हैं, ये राजनीति का वक्त नहीं है, लेकिन निशिकांत दुबे जी तो ये क्रॉस पार्टी डेलीगेशंस की एक प्रोमिनेंट फेस है, राइट? तो अजय कुमार जी का सवाल है, और एक जायज सवाल है, लेजिटिमेट क्वेश्चन है, व्हाई निशिकांत दुबे tweeting against on historical facts that where he's pointing a finger at the Congress while he is abroad as part of these delegations. Opposition की कोई नेता जो ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं वो तो ये नहीं कर रहे, बीजेपी के भी कोई नहीं कर रहे हैं, पर उन्होंने निशिकांत दुबे का एक एग्जांपल दिया है, उस पर अगर आप रिएक्ट करना चाहें अश्विनी जी।
जी बरखा जी, देखिए आपका बहस का जो मुद्दा है आज का, जो वो शशि थरूर जी पर है। निशिकांत दुबे जी को अजय जी ने अगर पॉइंट आउट किया है तो मैं जरूर जवाब देना चाहूंगा इस पर। निशिकांत दुबे जी अगर उस डेलीगेशन का हिस्सा है तो निशिकांत दुबे जी ने कभी भी इस जो हम लोगों के भारत ने पाकिस्तान के आतताइयों को जो दंडित करने का काम किया है, उसके लिए पाकिस्तान को एक्सपोज करने वाली टीम में गए हैं। तो वहां पर वो लोग पाकिस्तान को एक्सपोज कर रहे हैं, वो ठीक है। हिंदुस्तान में रहने के बाद, हिंदुस्तान में हमारे सर्वदलीय बैठक होने के बाद किस तरीके से सिद्धारमैया जी का बयान आता है, किस तरीके से अजय राय का बयान आता है, किस तरीके से अन्य, सबका नाम लेने की आवश्यकता नहीं है, सबका बयान आता है। इवन हमारे देश में प्रमुख विपक्षी दल के अध्यक्ष का बयान भी आता है, खड़गे साहब का, जो कि नहीं आना चाहिए। यानी कि सर्वदलीय बैठक में जो आप लोगों ने सहमति दिया था वो देश की जनता के उन भावनाओं के अनुरूप हो गया कि अगर आज हम इनको सहमति नहीं देते हैं तो देश की जनता हमारे खिलाफ खड़ी हो जाएगी। हमारी मजबूरी है कि हम कहें कि भाई मोदी जी हम आपके साथ हैं। अगर मोदी जी के साथ हैं, उनको सारे अधिकार दे दिए गए, फिर ये पूछने की आवश्यकता क्या है राहुल गांधी जी को, कितने राफेल गिरे, कितने हम युद्ध का सीज फायर कैसे करें, हम कैसे, क्या हुआ, ये सारे सवाल जो है जो पाकिस्तान को पूछने चाहिए वो कांग्रेसी नेताओं ने पूछे। ये निशिकांत दुबे जी उन्हीं चीजों को एक्सपोज कर रहे हैं कि पीछे क्या किया। मैं दो चार बातें जरूर पूछना
पर
चाहूंगा।
क्या
अभी हमारे
क्या
अजय जी
वो
ने
क्या वो
जी
एक छोटा सा सवाल, आपने ये जायज सवाल
जी
उठाया, व्हाई इज राहुल गांधी सो obsessed with how many rafales if at all they fell? Air Force is on record saying it's combat, pilots have come home, इसका इवैल्यूएशन बाद में किया जाएगा जैसे जरूरी हो। लेकिन आपने इस बात का जवाब नहीं दिया कि निशिकांत जी, एज उनका पूरा हक है, he has a right to his politics, but should he wait for this till the delegations come home? He's a part of those delegations. मेरा कांग्रेस से भी ये सवाल है, वो मेरे हिसाब से Congress should also not be raising these questions while the delegations are abroad. I feel
जी
nobody should be doing politics while the delegations are abroad. Nobody.
देखिए, निशिकांत दुबे जी का वहां का कोई बयान अगर आप कोई दिखा दे तो ठीक है, मैं मान लूंगा उस चीज को। लेकिन
हाँ
निशिकांत दुबे जी के ट्विटर पर जो ट्वीट आ रहे हैं, ये
जी
अजय जी ने शायद उन्हीं की बात की है। ट्विटर पे
जी,
जो है
ट्विटर पे ही,
कांग्रेस के पिछले,
हाँ ट्विटर
हाँ
पे
जी
ही,
जी जी,
ट्विटर पे।
लेकिन वहां डेलीगेशन के साथ का कोई बयान अगर ऐसा हो तो मुझे अगर दिखाया जाए तो मैं उस पर जो है मैं
नहीं नहीं,
कुछ
हम
कहने
ट्विटर
के लिए
ट्विटर
वो हूं। जी जी
ट्विटर
जी।
कमेंट्स की
तो
बात है। हाँ
ट्विटर देखिए, ट्विटर क्या है, ट्विटर पर तो देश विश्व के सबसे जो है महान व्यक्ति ने सीज फायर की घोषणा भी कर दी और हमारे
हाँ
कांग्रेसी लोगों ने मान भी लिया। बाद में
हाँ
उन्होंने कहा कि जो है हम वापस लेते हैं, हमने कोई मध्यस्थता नहीं की। उन्होंने तो बहुत कुछ कहा है ट्विटर पे।
जी
उन्होंने देखिए कि रसिया को किस तरीके से सनकी आदमी कह दिया पुतिन को। पुतिन ने जवाब भी दे दिया कि भाई थर्ड वर्ल्ड वार भी हो सकता है। तो ये तो ट्विटर का वार अलग है और इन डेलीगेशन का वो चीज अलग है। और बाकी यही उदित राज जी की जो बात है, शशि
जी
थरूर साहब के बयानों पर उन्होंने इस तरीके का रिएक्शन किया, तो मैं अजय जी से सम्मान से पूछना चाहता हूं कि उनके उदित राज जी के ऊपर क्या कार्यवाही कांग्रेस करेगी, ये पूछना चाहिए। क्योंकि इन्हीं लोगों ने, जब शशि थरूर जी का नाम डेलीगेशन के लिए आया तो कांग्रेसी इन्हीं नेताओं ने सवाल उठाया और कांग्रेस में एक भूचाल सा आ गया था कि शशि थरूर को क्यों हमने ये नाम दिए। ये था कि उनके ग्रुप को लीड करेंगे। चौथी बात एक मैं कहना चाहता
जी
हूं बरखा जी, देखिए हम चाहे उरी हो, चाहे पठानकोट हो या पहलगाम हो, हमने सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक का किया, भले ही इन लोगों ने उसको सर्जिकल कहा हो। बालाकोट किया हमने, वहां भले ही इन लोगों ने कौवा मारना कहा हो। अभी जो हमने किया, कांग्रेस के लोगों ने छिटफुट घटनाएं कहीं, बाद में नाम लेने की आवश्यकता नहीं किसने कहा, लेकिन ये चीजें की गई। लेकिन 26/11 की बात मैं पूछना चाहता हूं अजय जी आपसे, आपके द्वारा कांग्रेस से, कि 26/11 के बाद अगर पाकिस्तान ने इतने बड़े दुर्दांत हत्याकांड को वो किया था, तो आप लोगों ने 700 करोड़
ओके
पाकिस्तान को क्यों दिए? पहली बात। दूसरी बात, अभी अजय जी के सवाल बहुत थे, थोड़ा सा जवाब 1 मिनट का और समय दे दीजिए।
ओके
प्रधानमंत्री जी सेना की वर्दी में थे। अजय जी देखिए, ना मैं ना आप कोई छोटा नहीं है। 71 का युद्ध के बाद जब कई प्रदेशों में 72 में चुनाव हुआ था, तो इंदिरा जी को किस किस तरीके से पहले सिनेमा हॉल के जो है ना वो पोस्टर चिपका करते थे, पीछे जो है वो गम लगाकर, उसमें किस तरीके की वर्दी में उनको दिखाया जाता था, किस तरीके से क्या दिखाया जाता था, वो भी दिन याद कीजिए। और आज कह रहे हैं जबकि वो राफेल वो या कुछ चलाने गए थे, उस समय की तस्वीर को वहां पर लोगों को ने दिखाया था। चौथी बात, उन्होंने आपने पूछा पुंछ क्यों नहीं गए। मैं पूछना चाहता हूं मनमोहन सिंह जी 26/11 के जहां जहां हमला हुआ था कितने लोगों के घर गए? कोई साक्ष्य हो तो कांग्रेस उसको
ओके।
देश के सामने
अच्छा
प्रस्तुत करे।
अब ओके, अब
जी
दोनों नेताओं ने अपनी बात रखी। बिफोर डॉक्टर अजय कुमार रिस्पॉन्स, लेट मी गिव अ चांस टू द अदर्स। दिलीप, आई स्टार्ट विद यू। Both you and Shugata on an earlier program looked at some of these politics. And Dilip, at the time, you made the point that while FM Jaishankar is having to face some tough questions on the response of different governments around the world and Trump's insistence on making the same claim again and again and again, despite denials from the Modi government, you believe that the Congress, should have focused on being perceived to stand with flag and country, and therefore, especially when it framed its attack as personally on Jaishankar, alerting Pakistan to the attacks, they had made a mistake. Now we're in the full throttle of politics. Till now, the criticism was of Jaishankar. Now it has become of the Prime Minister personally. I'll play out that Pawan Khera clip in just a moment. But do you think the Congress is making a mistake? Or do you think it's been important for the Congress to somehow be in the headlines around this story, headlines that had completely left it out? So, as they say in your business and my business, even bad publicity is good publicity. It's better than no publicity.
I think that what you are saying has validity in today's context because now it has become all about politics. Operation Sindoor may technically be maintained as still on, but full throttle politics of taking advantage of it, of using it for the right kind of visuals, all of that has started in complete enthusiasm. So there is no doubt that any party, forget the Congress, any party that wants to maintain its position in the public eye is bound to take issue with it, because that's the only way to stay relevant. Now, if the BJP wants to be more than the Congress with a Rafale under its arm, then the BJP needs to, as the ruling party, set the agenda and make sure that everybody in the party speaks not about politics, but about the need to contain and to annihilate terrorism. I think, as someone in this business,
Yeah.
without naming any names, I can tell you that when working with two different party leaders, leaders of two different parties, I completely agree with Ajay that the script is almost the same, irrespective of which flag you came from. Because when you're abroad, you're flying only the tricolor. But I think that we need to understand that what is the concern today, and why is there this rah-rahing up of and ratcheting up of the action. The, the concern today is that despite the great efforts by the multiple teams sent abroad, they don't seem to be making an impact in the countries where they have gone to. They're getting more wall-to-wall coverage here than they got or are getting in the countries they have gone to, because that level of engagement is simply not visible in the global media. Therefore, the time has come now to recognize that the playfield, the battlefield, and the action has moved to the domestic marketplace. And unfortunately, then it's no holds barred, and everybody is going for whatever they can get.
Okay, so I think, Sugata, what Dilip is saying is we have moved from the phase of this, operation, which was purely military, to, for a moment, international diplomacy. And now from geopolitics, we are back to domestic politics. And now we are in the phase of domestic politics. So when the Prime Minister does these multiple road shows, these rallies, and we can move to those visuals now, the Congress will say, you are politicizing it. The important question is that how ordinary, or there's no one ordinary, is that how people who are not politicians will perceive it? That is the question. If this is all politics, then who is communicating more effectively politically is also a question. Sugata, let me take that to you.
Yeah, thank you, Barkha. See, politics is something that cannot be separated from this game. There has always been politics when there has been a war. See, only in 1965 you didn't have Twitter or Facebook or whatever. But if you look at the micro coverage that happened around that time, there was also a Lohia speaking, there was also somebody else speaking. There were dissenting voices. It's not that it was all flat and it was everybody had lined up like the army and they were all parading behind the government. There were questions being asked, and it's a democratic country, so questions will be asked, and there will be a kind of trading of charges that happen. So that is, I think, a normal thing to happen. You are not a dictator. This is not a dictatorial thing where
Right.
you completely clamp down on somebody's commentary. So that is going to happen. I mean, that's something that we should concede and accept. And to this government's credit, there's a lot of dissenting voice, so you can't say it is anti-democratic per se. So there is, nobody is stopping people from talking, and even political leaders in my own state of Karnataka have gone berserk on this whole thing.
Yeah.
So as somebody pointed out, Siddaramaiah and others.
Yeah.
So, but the more important thing is, Barkha, something that we discussed when I was in your last show, where the Congress is unable to sort of come up with a narrative which counters the cultural narrative that the BJP has put there. Like last time I mentioned, see, Operation Sindoor is some kind of an anti-missile thing, cultural anti-missile thing, which saves Modi and BJP from all the criticism that is being fired at him, because it's a lot of things are taken care of because of the cultural metaphor and the cultural narrative that they have built. And the Congress has always been, weak in building a cultural narrative. They still talk in terms of Rafales and how many aeroplanes fell and who is talking what, the minutiae of a lot of things. Those things are not getting registered. See, if you're talking about politics, let's talk politics. Is this getting registered in the minds of the common man? Is the ultimate
I
test.
think that is a legitimate question, because people like me may say don't do politics right now, but the politics has already overtaken the conversation, as Dilip
Absolutely.
pointed out,
And one
as you
yeah,
point out, and
yeah,
you believe, go ahead and complete your point, and you believe that Operation Sindoor has become a subcultural moment, not only a military operation, and it is shielding the BJP from any other sort of criticism that the
that-
opposition is trying to bring to its door.
that's right. So, Congress has always been deracinated. That's been my biggest commentary against the Congress party. So, Congress has no narrative after the BJP has taken over a certain nationalist, patriotic narrative. It's a kind of narrative that they've built over the last 10 years. So that is one thing. But there is something else which I think has escaped the attention of our friends here, which is that the Prime Minister is asking far more serious questions about the IWT. If you look at the script of his speeches, what he's saying is that the clauses that were put into it were atrocious. If you read the Times of India's lead story today, this morning, he's speaking about the Indus Valley Treaty, and he's saying that the clauses that were introduced and conceded have gone
Yeah.
against India's interests. So the politics is happening at a far deeper level, and the Congress will have to counter it at a far, far different level. It's forget
So
Shashi
this is,
Tharoor and all that.
yeah.
It's you're basically saying that this political party has conceded far too much to Pakistan, and therefore Pakistan was behaving the way it was behaving, and now I have come. So that is his narrative. And whether it's right or wrong, there are loose cannons on both sides. Modi ji, I do concede. I think somebody Dr. Ajay made that point. Modi ji goes over the top when he sort of builds a rhetoric. All that is correct. But then, what is your response? That's the
Okay.
question.
So I need to play out two statements here, one of the Prime Minister and one of Pawan Khera. I think they'll help frame what we've just discussed. The interesting thing is that the Prime Minister in his speeches has made only two references to the opposition, and both have been oblique. One has been about Sardar Patel and history of Jammu and Kashmir and Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And the other was a quip कि इस बारी सब कुछ कैमरा पे है, नहीं तो ये ना हो कि घर पे कुछ लोग सबूत मांग ले. Other than that, he's not named anybody in the opposition. He's not named any political party. This is what the Prime Minister said about Sardar Patel, an oblique reference to Nehru without naming him. Take a look.
मां भारती का एक हिस्सा आतंकवादियों के बलबूते पर, मुजाहिदों के नाम पर पाकिस्तान ने हड़प ले लिया. अगर उसी दिन इन मुजाहिदों को मौत के घाट उतार दिया गया होता, और सरदार पटेल की इच्छा थी कि पीओके वापस नहीं आता है तब तक सेना रुकनी नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन सरदार साहब की बात मानी नहीं गई और ये मुजाहिदीन जो लहू चख गए थे, वो सिलसिला 75 साल से चला है. पहलगाम में भी उसी का विकृत रूप था. 75 साल तक हम जेलते रहे.
So, Dr. Ajoy, this is the point that Shugata was making, that there's a kind of historicity that the Prime Minister is bringing into his speeches. He's talking about the Indus Water Treaty. He's talking about historic wrongs because of which what happened in Pahalgam happened, and so on. And I think this is a very interesting question that, okay, we're in the phase of it, which is all politics. But then if it is all politics, every party has to have effective political communication. The Prime Minister is bringing up history. What is the Congress's answer to those questions? Which has to also be a serious set of responses, as opposed to Jaishankar gave away war plans, which is not a serious point.
No, so the first, no, I think Jaishankar's issue is a second issue, and I have a good, and I'll need to maybe highlight that on one point. But so Ms. Sugata was saying that, there is a political narrative. Now, I'll tell you the fact that 99% of India is asking, why did you have a ceasefire? I went to a dentist and my dentist is saying that, why did you do it? So the question is that impression you get by these road shows is a total misreading of it. Now, my understanding, common man is saying, why did, because Trump, everybody in India knows that Trump said it 8 times. शाही साहब will say that, ट्रम्प जी तो बोलते रहते हैं, वो बात सही है, बोलते रहते हैं, लेकिन 8 बार तो आपने कभी उनको टोका नहीं. So one is that. Secondly, on the Indus Water Treaty, the shamelessness of the government and honestly the leaders of this government. What is the Indus Water Treaty? That you would have 3.7 million meters of water storage capacity. Today, you only have 0.7. So it's not that you didn't do it. 11 years, you did nothing. If you, Sugat, on the facts of the Indus Water Treaty, if you look at it,
Can I allow him a brief interjection? Can I allow him one sentence interjection?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah.
One sec. I mean, the Prime Minister is precisely speaking about that. He's speaking about why the desilting was never done, for decades, because, the storage levels got completely.
I'm with you. But Sugato, I totally respect what you're saying. But the question is, 11 years this government is there. You didn't desilt for 11 years. Forget what happened 60 years. Okay, first question. Second question is, what did you do in 11 years to build capacity? Third question is, 50 years back, when you go back and start countering it, the issue of the Indus Water Treaty was you needed the eastern rivers totally free of any controversy. That is the whole issue of the Indus Water Treaty. That the eastern rivers, and that's why Barkha and Nangal came up, and all those huge dam projects came up because Pandit Nehru wanted to make sure, and the government of India and Sardar Patel, that the eastern rivers were not a matter of discussion with Pakistan. Now, it is amazing that the Prime Minister continues to lie on these issues, because what was the intent of India? And it is important for Congress also to speak that when the treaty happened, Barkha, the whole of the government of India's focus was to ensure that there's no water sharing for the 3 eastern rivers. And we had decided to build projects on it. And for 50, 70 years, we have not done it. But you blame us for not desilting. What about 11 years you're in government? Why didn't you do it? Second question. And today also, you are only 10% of the capacity, Sogatos. The third issue is this political narrative, culture narrative going good to the people? I have my doubts for the simple reason. All orchestra demonstration happening, getting Sophia Qureshi's family to throw flowers and all that is not only obnoxious, it's ridiculous. Politics is a strange period over a period of time. We'll see how it plays out in the next 6 months. But the fact is that the people want to know that why didn't you, like you see, Sardar Patel, historically also, Barkha, imagine the Prime Minister telling to this country that Sardar Patel wanted. Have you ever seen a reference? No way. So the lies which dominate this government, I'm okay if you give me a reference.
Can I ask you?
Let me complete. One second. I'll just complete. I have not seen a single historical reference. I would love it to be proved wrong. The third point and the last, which is the most important thing on this issue, is every Indian wants to know that if we were doing so well, then why did the ceasefire happen? That is a question which is troubling every Indian. You might say that the cultural narrative of Sindoor is working, and it may or may not be. I can only say about what I understand from my limited knowledge of politics, from my constituency and the people I meet. Okay. Do we need to do a better job? So, Barkha, I take Sugata's point. Do we need to do a better job? Absolutely. Do we need to do a better job and all? And I respect what he said on that point, is that we need to go back and explain the issues. But we are also raising important questions. It's a tricky situation, It's a Pakistan at one end, government politicizing it. How do we do it? So I agree with that we could do a little, but my only grief, and I'll ask Shaiji with all decency and respect, that is this a time to make a road show and
Okay.
khun chalta hai and all that, khun ubalta hai and all that. It's not a nice
before
thing to say.
before
Yeah.
before Shahiji
Sorry, sir.
before
Yeah.
Shahiji responds to that, आपने मेरे सवाल का जवाब नहीं दिया. You see,
What's
you are my sawal is, why did the Congress begin its criticism of Operation Sindoor's handling with an allegation that Jai Shankar had alerted Pakistan to an impending attack, which was not only a non-serious comment to make, it was also a kind of ludicrous comment to make. Then, if you want to raise questions about the ceasefire, the geopolitics, please do. But why should you say, oh, because of that, hamare Rafale gir gaye? We have no official account, none, from our Air Force on the loss of aircraft. It's all speculative right now. What the Air Marshal said was, losses happen in a combat, our pilots are home. Very briefly, because I have to go to the others and Ashwini ji, very briefly.
So my question
is this the way to flag your concerns? Is this effective?
No. First question, Barkha, is, I think the first we must ask the prime. So I take your question is, where did it all start from?
Yeah.
Every party gave the support to the government.
Yes.
We had a CWC meeting. If you continue to bait the opposition for ridiculous nonsense, secondly, the Prime Minister doesn't show the respect to even attend those meetings. You see, this is where the deterioration happens. All the good behavior should be from my side. He doesn't even respect the opposition by attending the meeting. So, whether you'll agree with it, why can't the Prime Minister attend? He flew from Saudi Arabia and went to Bihar for a political rally. That is not questionable. That will be an issue in Bihar. So I'm just saying, instead of going to, he flew touchdown in Delhi and then long touchdown in Bihar and smiling with Nitish Kumar. My issue is on Mr. Jaishankar. It is the first time I have ever heard on TV. Now there will be juries out where any lead foreign minister says, hey, listen, by the way, I'm going to attack you. I've attacked you. I'm just saying, Barkha.
He didn't say before the attack. He didn't say that. And this has been clarified multiple times now, Ajoy. Multiple times it's been clarified.
So when did Barkha, just one question. When did he say it? Just tell me, just clarify for me. When did he say it? When did he say it?
Basis his briefing to a parliamentary panel. I'm also only quoting what I'm following. After the first attack, right? So after the first strikes, the DGMO spoke to each other. Why did we do it? Because we were trying to convey that this is a non-escalatory strike. We do not want a war. We have targeted terror bases. Okay, Ajoy, hand on heart, do you really believe Jaishankar alerted Pakistan to the strikes?
I'm not saying that. Listen, I'll just finish off with one important point.
Yeah, quickly, because
it's very important for people to understand. I know I'm taking a lot of others' time, and I want to apologize to all my respected panelists, but only 5 seconds is. I feel Mr. Jaishankar speaking could have been avoided. Our issue is, and the deterioration of the discussion is because of the total disrespect to opposition. I think it went downhill after that, and we need to and listen. Questioning the government is important. And when you make a rally now, you tell me, is Barkha, honestly, or Ashwini bhai, is this rally in Gujarat logical?
Okay, let's ask Ashwini ji. Ajoy, I have to come. I have to let Ashwini
sorry,
come in.
Sorry,
he's waited very patiently, and you've been very polite and apologetic about it. So Ashwini ji will hopefully be okay with it. Ashwini ji, जो main सवाल है, बोलिए please कि रैली क्यों की? मोदी जी ने रैली क्यों की? ये पॉलिटिकल चीज है, आप इस पे क्या बोलेंगे?
जी देखिए बरखा जी, आपके पैनल में जो है सभी विद्वान लोग आते हैं, इसमें सुनने में अच्छा लगता है मुझे तो, लेकिन बोलने का समय भी आप देती हैं, आपको धन्यवाद। देखिए यहाँ पर जो है हम लोग, अजय जी हमारे पॉलिटिकल लोग हैं, बाकी लोग तो जो है अपना विश्लेषण कर रहे हैं, अजय जी को मेरा जवाब देना बनता है। क्योंकि देखिए रैली के बारे में कहा जाता है तो मैं एक लाइटर नोट पे कहता हूं कि कांग्रेस का स्थापना दिवस था शायद, अजय जी आप भी गए होंगे उसमें, राहुल गांधी जी बैंकॉक के पता नहीं कहाँ गए थे, क्यों नहीं थे वहां, आवश्यकता नहीं थी। थोड़ा सा अपने तरफ देखिए, देश रुकना नहीं चाहिए ये माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी कहते हैं, तो रैली हो या कोई देश के डेवलपमेंट का काम हो, शशि थरूर जी ने क्या बोला है बाहर जाकर, हिंदुस्तान युद्ध नहीं चाहता, हिंदुस्तान डेवलपमेंट की बात करता है। ये शशि थरूर जी के वो कर रहा हूं। तो जब डेवलपमेंट की बात है, बिहार में कुछ परियोजनाओं का उद्घाटन था, गुजरात में चाहे कुछ भी हो, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी जाते हैं और आप हमेशा अपेक्षा करते हैं जिस तरीके से हर सत्र में आप पेगासस कभी ले आए, कभी हिंडनबर्ग ले आए, सारा फेल हो गया, कभी सावरकर ले आए, डांट सुनकर राहुल गांधी जी वापस आ गए सुप्रीम कोर्ट से। उसी तरीके से मैं कहना चाहता हूं, मणिपुर पर प्रधानमंत्री जी क्यों नहीं गए? मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि 22 दिन तक हमारे जो है देश के गृह राज्य मंत्री वहां पर कैंप किए, गृह मंत्री जी 3 दिन रहे। कांग्रेस के समय में भी हुआ था, राजेश पायलट जी 3.5 घंटे थे वहां। तो थोड़ा सा ये करके आप लोग सवाल किया करिए। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने देश प्रथम का नारा दिया है और देश प्रथम के उस पर थे। माननीय रक्षा मंत्री जी को ऑल पार्टी मीटिंग की अध्यक्षता करनी थी, तो क्या आप माननीय रक्षा मंत्री जी को देश का नहीं मानते हैं? या बाहर के रक्षा मंत्री के नेतृत्व में तो हो नहीं रहा था। ये सवाल उठाना गलत समय पर है मेरे हिसाब से, क्योंकि राहुल गांधी जी जैसा व्यक्ति ये सवाल उठाता है। और बरखा जी आपने सही कहा कि डीजीएमओ पर भरोसा नहीं है अगर इन लोगों को, तो चलिए चुनाव आयोग पर नहीं करते हैं, ईडी सीबीआई पर नहीं करते हैं, डीजीएमओ पर तो कर लीजिए। विदेश मंत्रालय ने जयशंकर जी की बात को खंडन किया, जयशंकर जी ने खुद खंडन किया, फिर भी कांग्रेस उसको उठाती रही। क्या कांग्रेस के पास 1 महीने थोड़ा धैर्य रखकर जो है देखने की बात नहीं थी? जिस दिन ये कहा जाए कि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर इज ओवर, फिर आप हम लड़ लेंगे ना, हम सत्र भी बुला लेंगे, हम सदन भी चलाएंगे, आप प्रदर्शन भी करिएगा। लेकिन एक जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात कल अहमदाबाद में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो कहा गुजरात में, शायद पीओके के मसले पर जो बात हुई कि आखिर वहां पर क्यों ये मसला रह गया, क्योंकि वल्लभ भाई पटेल वहां नहीं थे, बाकी जगह जूनागढ़ से लेकर हैदराबाद में सब सॉर्ट आउट करा दिया। एक ही चीज थी नेहरू जी के साथ में, वो क्यों हुआ? और देश की सेनाएं जब घुस गई थी तो अजय जी सीज फायर क्यों किया गया 47 में? क्या देश से चर्चा करके किया गया था या नहीं किया गया था? यह भी देश जानना चाहता है आपसे कि सीज फायर क्यों किया गया। रण के कच्छ के रण में हमारी सेनाएं सैकड़ों किलोमीटर आगे बढ़ गई थी, वापस क्यों दिया गया उसको? अक्साई चीन की बात मैं नहीं करता हूं, जिस दिन 93,000 सैनिकों को साल 2 साल खिलाया गया, हमारे 54 पता नहीं शहीद हैं वो या अभी भी जिंदा है तो वापस नहीं आए हैं हमारे पास। हमने 93,000 दिए उनको, हम ले सकते थे, हम चिकन नेक को चौड़ा कर सकते थे, ये चीजें कर सकते थे। हर तरह से क्या परिस्थिति रही क्या नहीं रही, अगर हम सवाल करें तो सवाल बनता है, जैसे आप करते हैं तो बनता है, लेकिन क्या परिस्थिति रही कि जो हम लोग नहीं कर पाए। और आज पूरा विश्व जानता है, शायद हम लोगों को ये पता भी ना चले और हम लोग चले जाएं इस दुनिया से, फिर कोई किताब लिखेगा कि सीज फायर क्यों हुआ था तो हमारी अगली पीढ़ी को पता चलेगा, वो अलग बात है। मगर कहीं ना कहीं कुछ कारण होगा जिसकी वजह से सीज फायर हुआ था। और एक बात और मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि इसमें जो है देखिए, वाटर इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी की बात है। 56 साल में आप हमसे सवाल पूछ रहे हैं कि हमने नहीं किया। आपने इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी किया, उनको पैसे भी दिए नहर बनाने के लिए, ये सब काम आपने किया। अगर कहीं कुछ होता तो आप रोक लेते। 11 साल में हमने 18 के बाद कई परियोजनाएं वहां चालू की हैं, जिसमें एक आध पूरी भी हुई हैं। मैं सबका नहीं कह रहा हूं, लेकिन 18 के बाद कुछ 16 में शुरू हुई, कुछ 18 में शुरू हुई, एक आध पूरी हुई है वहां। तो हम तो तैयारी कर रहे हैं। 11 इधर जो है 11 सालों में देश को सामरिक रूप से आर्थिक रूप से हमने मजबूत बनाया, लेकिन कांग्रेस की तरफ से एक बार भी धन्यवाद नहीं आया कि आज बताइए विश्व में हम चौथी अर्थव्यवस्था हो गए। उसके बाद भी सवाल पूछा जाता है क्या हो गया? अरे खोखली, एक बार धन्यवाद ही तो दे लेते आप लोग कि इस युद्ध के काल में हम नीचे चले जाते, लेकिन हम चौथी अर्थव्यवस्था के रूप में खड़े हैं। तो कभी कभी आपने देखिए बरखा जी, एक अंतिम लाइन कि अगर हमने कुछ गलत किया, सही किया छोड़िए, हर सरकारें करती रहती हैं। आपने जो सही किया मैं मानता हूं, चलिए 56 साल तक आपने राज किया इस देश पर, तो 56 साल में कुछ किया होगा, ऐसा नहीं है कि देश की जनता के लिए जवाब दे नहीं। हमने भी कुछ किया हुआ है, हम तो कहते हैं, सब लोग कहते हैं भाई आपने बांग्लादेश अलग किया, लेकिन आप नहीं कहते हैं कि हमने घुस के मारा वहां पर। ये नहीं कह सकते हैं आप लोग, अंतर यही है जी।
फेयर क्वेश्चन। अब मैं दोनों नेताओं से थोड़ा रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि हमारे जो बाकी दो गेस्ट बहुत पेशेंटली आप दोनों को सुन रहे हैं, लेट्स गिव देम सम टाइम, मे बी अ लिटिल मोर टाइम बिफोर वी कम बैक टू बोथ ऑफ यू। बट बिफोर दैट, Pawan Khera accusing the Prime Minister. So I want to, the reason I'm playing this clip is note the shift in opposition strategy. and I would say Congress strategy, not opposition strategy. The Congress was not targeting the Prime Minister all this while. The Congress was targeting Jaishankar. The Congress has now shifted its target to the Prime Minister directly. Take a look.
और ये मजाकिया विषय है नहीं। जिस तरह से वो कभी प्रेम चोपड़ा की तरह, कभी परेश रावल की तरह डायलॉग्स दे रहे हैं साहब, जा जाकर ये सिंदूर है, इसमें रगों में मांग क्या है, खून है, गर्म है, ठंडा है, और गोली खाओ, रोटी खाओ। ये प्रधानमंत्री है, ये प्रधानमंत्री है देश के। आज तक हमें जवाब नहीं मिला कि 2023 में पुंछ में जो आतंकियों ने किया, 2 अक्टूबर 2024 में गांधरबल में जो किया, गुलमर्ग में अक्टूबर 2024 में जो किया, पहलगाम में अप्रैल 2025 में जो किया, उन आतंकियों का क्या हुआ, वो कहां है? आज तक जवाब नहीं मिला कि सीजफायर किन शर्तों पर हुआ। आज तक जवाब नहीं मिला हाफिज सईद, अजहर मसूद बच के कैसे निकल गए। क्या सीजफायर की शर्तों में इन्हें वापस लाना है या नहीं है? कोई जवाब नहीं। जवाब मांगो, सवाल पूछो तो ये डायलॉग आते हैं आपके। पिक्चरें हम सबने देखी है साहब, हमारा सारा बचपन पिक्चरें देखकर गुजरा है, लेकिन गंभीर विषयों पे गंभीर चर्चा होनी चाहिए या पिक्चरों के डायलॉग होने चाहिए?
Dilip Cherian, do you feel that it's politically smart to personally target the Prime Minister, which is clearly a shift that has taken place in the last 24 hours?
I think that the Congress has found to its own cost, and very often at its grievous cost, that the attacks on the Prime Minister ricochet back on them. It is not the brightest political move to do that. It may be, in a sense, an attempt to heighten the tension or to distract from the Jaishankar attack which took place, that you've gone back to attacking the one level higher. But I think that this is not as strategic a move, and perhaps it comes as a kind of, kicking back at a stone when you know that it's not going to be a movable object. So it's not very wise. And even the rhetoric that is being used isn't something that appeals to the country. Barkha, on a completely different mission, I was speaking to a whole bunch of people on the ground in Rajasthan. And everyone there seemed to say that the kind of urja there was after Uri is simply not visible on the ground. You spoke about, the kind of exercises that are going to happen in Punjab, Rajasthan, etc. But I think that there is some anxiety within the ruling party that perhaps the excitement at the ground level and the questioning at the ground level is of a different kind from the time when we struck at Uri. So I think that is a possible reason why the Congress is emboldened and why the BJP feels that it needs to raise this issue higher and higher.
So, Shugata, you have a completely different perspective from Dilip on this. You actually believe that just from the very coinage of the operation being called Sindoor, its wide cultural resonance, Shashi Tharoor again spoke very movingly about what that etymology really represents, the color of blood, the color of marriage among Hindu women, what it symbolizes. You actually believe that the narrative is much stronger among people than perhaps what we've seen before. Dilip feels otherwise. How do you see this Congress comment targeting the Prime Minister, Shugata?
I mean, as I completely agree with Dilip ji on the first part of his thing, where targeting the Prime Minister at this point of time is bad timing as far as Congress is concerned. That is completely well taken. But I mean, I tend to disagree with him a little on the second part, which is, on the ground, whether there is a kind of atmosphere for the BJP or the Congress. I don't think that kind of a survey has been, I haven't got a chance to see a survey like that. We don't know the sample size, whether that's happening. But one thing is sure, if at all somebody is occupying the mind space of the electorate at this point of time, it is the BJP and Modi and Operation Sindoor, and not so much the Congress party at all. So that much is pretty clear. One is only speaking on one's hunches. It's not something scientific. But the other point, listening to Dr. Ajoy, is that the Congress should stop fact checking. Fact checking is not the most favored mode for any political party. Political parties build narratives. You cannot become
Right.
a fact checking unit. So kitna ye, that, this, that kind of detailing which gets into a logical thinking process is not something that will really resonate with people. You have to have something bigger to sort of counter this whole thing. And as far as the ceasefire thing is concerned, Barka, I mean, there's a lot of talk that was happening on the ceasefire thing. See, there are lots of agreements that happen at the DGMO level. There was also one with China. For example, the no first use of arms treaty or something, which was
Mhm.
signed by Deve Gowda. It's forgotten. I mean, so that was giving us problems much later during Manmohan Singh's time, and even at the time when Modi took over. So there were small treaties like the small agreements like that. And any responsible government, I mean, I'm not speaking for Jaishankar. I'm just trying to point out that any responsible government would want to tell the other side that this is the framework in which we are operating. I mean, they communicate all the time. So I don't think that, that should not have been made a big issue at all, because there are several such steps
Yeah.
that any responsible government would take, and we are not far away from their borders. We are just about it's just across the border. It's not a enemy which is far away. So you
Yeah.
have to be responsible about your own populations here. And
Yeah.
one missile landing somewhere in Amritsar or somewhere else could cause a huge problem. So you are being precautionary, and then the Congress would turn around and say, "Why did you sort of tell them about that?" So these
Yeah.
problems do exist.
So I need to take last comments, but let's pick up this point of Shugata. Don't fact check, tell a better story. I'll because the netas have occupied a little more space. I'll start with our commentators. Dilip, I'll start with you. Closing comments. What is the better story that the Congress could tell? Because here's the problem or the challenge for the Congress: they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. If they'd said nothing, they would have just become invisible. What they've said, the BJP has said, you're speaking Pakistan's language. Even if Trump is raising this 8 times, believe your own DGMO. Why do you want to believe Trump? So the Congress is really in a difficult position, and the Congress is taking a very different route from other opposition parties.
The trick the Congress has missed out totally is in the fact that despite our victory and our ability to control the 90-day wars narrative, we have missed out on the fact that the loss on a global front is that India and Pakistan have got hyphenated all over again in all global dialogues. And I think that is where the public also would have said that here is a country which is now number 3 in the world in terms of GDP. We should have stood out as really the beacon of hope for the world to tackle the terror of terrorism. And that hyphenation which has happened, whether it is only due to Trump or whether a whole bunch of other leaders have also used that phraseology. I think the fact is that the Congress should have said that we have spent 30 years or whatever it is, whatever rhetoric they want to use, trying to make sure that that decoupling takes place. And now we are back in that space. And that is not a good thing for a country as proud and as rapidly growing as India is on the world stage. I think
Okay,
that is the narrative they missed.
Shugata, would they have been in a better position to offer this narrative maybe a little later? One of the points that Ashwini Shahi made was hold your horses. Operation Sindoor is not over. Wait for the delegations to come back home, then make these points. That's question one. Would the Congress have been better served had Rahul Gandhi been on one of these delegations, or would he have been caught in a catch-22 sort of impossible situation where he would have basically had to embrace the talking points of the government? Could have gone either way. And question three to you is this, that, you know, if you look at history, if you look at what happened after 26/11, I think I mentioned this story before, but I'll repeat it. At that time, it wasn't Trump, but it was David Cameron who was working the phone lines. It was the Manmohan Singh government, and David Cameron was working the phone lines. And India wanted to call the ISAC chief to India to demand accountability. So, what I'm trying to say is Pakistan has always been an intractable problem anyone who's in government has had to, deal with it in the way that they best estimate at that time, which is good, bad, ugly, indifferent. But the Congress also doesn't have, historicity that it can always quote from. So how do you see this? Closing comments. Shugata.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you, Barkha. So this whole thing of hyphenation, Barkha, is not happening because a leader A or leader B in India is trying to do that. It's the problem of foreign governments. Their lenses that they wear to look at India has not changed, and that won't change so easily. It is not a decadal problem or a problem that can be sorted out quickly. So it takes a lot of time to build that perception. And if Trump, that's my criticism about Indian opposition. They don't believe anything that Trump says, but they believe everything that Trump says on Kashmir. So you can't have that kind of a divergent kind of convenient kind of acceptance of Trump. So if hyphenation is happening, the hyphenation is not the problem caused by either the Indian government or the Indian media or the Indian opposition or the Indian ruling party. It's happening because of the limitations, strategic interests of other countries. So they have to sort of come around. India has still not got its place in the UN Security Council. India is still hyphenated on a lot of things, and this has been happening for a very long time. So you can't ask them to just drop Pakistan just because India has become the third most powerful country as far as the economy is concerned.
Let's take closing comments from Ajoy and Ashwini ji. Dr. Ajoy Kumar, I'll start with you. I think this is an interesting question. If hyphenation is the main issue that you should have focused on, as Dilip is saying, Shugata also has an interesting corollary there, that you can't believe Trump sometimes and not believe him at other times. Trump also says Modi is a great guy. Will you believe Trump on that? Trump also says that, these Indians, the Prime Minister is my great friend. He's done so much for his country. You will not believe him on that. You will pick up the bits. That's Sugata's question. Closing comments, Dr. Ajoy, and then Ashwini ji can have the last word.
So let me disabuse both of you that we don't believe Trump. We were saying, why didn't you call out Trump? So, Sugata and Barkha, so first of all, so it's very important to disabuse on Trump and Congress parties that you must call out and say, why the hell is he saying that? In whatever
they
way
will say they have. They will say we've done it. We've rebutted it multiple times.
I'm just saying that no, we have not.
Okay.
We have not. We have not done it at any diplomatic level. So, second issue is, you have no friends in the past 10 years of this government. No country has spoken in your favor. No Nepal, no Sri Lanka, not forget neighbors, even EU, because you kept showing them kept poking them in the eye. Jaishankar goes and tells EU that you mind your own business. So the question is, you tell me one country which has spoken in your favor. One country which has spoken once the operation started. Now, is it a great successful diplomacy? No. Second issue, I agree with Dilip on in terms of what he said, and in terms of narrative is, but it's very early in the days. As the months, as it goes by, the evolution of the narrative will become much sharper and all that, because it's too early in the day to say it. But the narrative is fact checking, and I totally agree on that point. Is fact checking is not what we need to communicate, and we are not doing it. But if we are creating that impression, we need to fix it. But you will see a great deal of differences in as we move towards the coming weeks, whether it's the parliament session or not. But the most important part is, I think the most important question again to which you, Barkha, said was, India needs to know that why do we have no friends left? And third, it's not third economy GDP, it's fourth. Fact check just for the sake, but it's also the 140th per capita income.
Okay.
Below 90, below sub-Saharan Africa, if you remove the 5%. So that's an interesting data. Below sub-Saharan Africa, if you remove the 5% rich people from this country. So that's not a good situation to be in. But yeah, so I take your feedback. We need to, but you will see a great deal of momentum on that. And both, even Ashwini ji has spoken, and all three of you have spoken very valuable points. I'll go back to the party and inform them. And I think some good lessons will be.
दूसरे चैनल पर जाना है, इसलिए मैं जल्दी से दो बातें मैं कहूंगा, जल्दी से दो बातें कहूंगा। एक तो अजय जी को मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि किस देश ने हिंदुस्तान का विरोध किया, उसके नाम बता दें, बस सिर्फ 3 देशों को छोड़कर। साथ में पूछ रहे हैं कौन साथ में था। दूसरा, हिंदुस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री की राजनीतिक इच्छा शक्ति का डंका पूरे विश्व में बज रहा है कि हमने घर में घुसकर मारा और किस तरीके से हम जो है मजबूत होकर उभरे, लेकिन हिंदुस्तान में अपने ही घर में जो है हम एक इस तरीके से महसूस कराया जा रहा है कि हम हार चुके हैं। ये वही स्थिति है। पाकिस्तान जिस तरीके से झंडे लेकर घूम रहा था और हिंदुस्तान में 99 सीट पाकर अजय जी की पार्टी जो है जश्न मना रही थी कि हम जीत गए हैं, वो पाकिस्तान वाली भाषा हम कहते हैं ना, क्यों बोल रहे हैं पाकिस्तान की भाषा, तो ऐसे ही बोलते हैं लोग। मैं कहना कुछ नहीं चाहूंगा, मैं ये सिर्फ इतना कहूंगा कि हिंदुस्तान की सेनाओं पर भरोसा रखिए, हिंदुस्तान की एजेंसियों पर भरोसा रखिए, हिंदुस्तान के मजबूत नेतृत्व पर भरोसा रखिए, सब बेहतर होगा। हम लोग लड़ाई जब 29 का चुनाव आएगा तो लड़ लेंगे, फिर 34 का चुनाव आएगा तो लड़ लेंगे। जनता तय करेगी कि क्या होना है, क्या हुआ और क्या होगा। जी
बिल्कुल। इसी पॉइंट पे थैंक यू बोलती हूँ अश्विनी जी को, अजय जी को, टू दिलीप एंड टू शुगता। थैंक यू सो मच एंड रियली अप्रिशिएट आवर पॉलिटिकल गेस्ट फॉर कीपिंग इट सिविल and polite. It is a rare thing in today's time. So we really do thank both Ashwini Shahi and Dr. Ajoy Kumar, and of course thanks as ever to Sugata and Dilip, to our audience.
I mean,
thank
they
you.
were very decent. I enjoyed
Thank
myself
you.
thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you. Come again. Thank you so much and see you soon.
Bye.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.